Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Deal Flow Live. This is the show where we look at all kinds of business deals. We talk deal making, meaning buying and selling businesses. So we talk about things from the buyer perspective and the seller perspective. We talk about how the two play together. We talk about what types of things you should be thinking about if you're thinking about buying a business or thinking about selling your business. And often we even look directly at businesses that are listed online for sale right now, that if you went online, you could literally make an offer and buy this business. And we get into the nitty gritty details. We talk about what types of things you would want to consider, whether you're buying or selling the business. So hopefully, if you're someone who's thinking about either buying or selling a business now or in the future, you can take some insights from this and be thinking about these things a little bit more deeply and making better decisions. Today, we've got a very particular type of business to look at. It is a thriving countertop and cabinet business. And Ryan picked this one out. It's a listing that he saw online that got him pretty intrigued. Tell us a little bit about what caught your eye on this one, Ryan.
Well, first and foremost, I think it's a big industry that kind of people will gloss over. When you think about cabinetry, like building cabinets, you don't really consider the two mutually accessible. Everybody knows about granite countertops, but nobody really thinks about what they're sitting on, the cabinetry, which is technically an island. So I like the concept of it. I like the fact that it is a very sustainable business in a place where it doesn't matter if it's new construction, old construction, renovations. People are always going to want to gut a kitchen, remodels, whatever it is. There's going to be a line of work that always needs to be done for it. The price I thought was fairly good. They're listing for 500. They're doing about 1.1, and the SDE is about 240. So you're right, just an inch over that 2x for this size. A little, maybe just a tad expensive, but not terribly when you look at the amount of sales that they're doing. So
I wouldn't even say expensive, honestly.
Because honestly, 200. Oh, you're right. 200K of it is the
It's I would say it's honestly it's like assuming this FF&E and inventory are correct, which we'll get into a little bit more about why I know so much about this industry. But I happen to know that businesses like this genuinely do have very, very expensive inventory on hand. Like background on this, why I know this. I have a client that we're helping grow the business of that is in this exact industry, and they have all this raw material that can be repurposed into paid work that is either like extra from a previous piece of stone or something that was cut, or it's like someone changed and went to a different type of material. They bought the materials. They've usually got like genuinely a lot of material that can be turned into real work. And then a lot of times, they might have a showroom or something and genuinely have like a lot of FF&E. So it's not unreasonable to say that there's a lot of value in that stuff. So you're getting almost an entire $499 in 1 year out of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
It is a very interesting one. It's been established pretty well. So 14 years over our 10 limit, it's good. 6 employees. And I was thinking it could be an owner dependent business depending on kind of how big their operation is. It does seem like if it's 6 employees, it must be pretty tightly packed. It must be a pretty compact business in the sense that it probably runs lean, because the one that you work with, it is, there's one salesperson and that is the owner, and they kind of handle the bulk of the business. And having been spent so much time, they're good at it too.
Yeah, and we've made some moves to help decrease that dependence by bringing in someone to handle like the first half of the sales cycle, which is great. But a lot of these businesses, especially, it looks like they're running decently lean. They're not running as lean as I know they could be running based on the information I have and what I know about this. If they're running a little bit less lean, some of these 6 employees could be carrying some of the burden of the business, like a little bit more than I'm used to seeing. You'd want to know about that, though. You'd want to know, like, how does the sales process work? Do they have a salesperson that's on staff and doing a lot of these sales, or is it the owner? And oftentimes with these smaller businesses, it is the owner, and they're just kind of doing them things themselves. And that's something you would have to take on if you became the owner of this business.
Oh yeah.
So let's see. They've been in business for 14 years. That's pretty awesome. Ryan and I love to see businesses that have been in business for really over 5 years, but the longer the better. The longer it's been around, the more likely it's going to be to continue to stay around.
Yeah.
We got a loyal client base. They say they don't say much about how. Okay, so no, they do say that they get some from custom home builders, some of their business. They don't say a lot about how they get the rest of their business. I'd be curious, like, are they advertising? Is that advertising leading to much? I know that advertising works in this business from my experience, but I'd be curious how that works for them, and if that's something that they have a good understanding of internally, or are they relying on a marketing agency that could be here today, gone tomorrow? You just never know with those things. Like you could step in and maybe they're working with a marketing agency, and all of a sudden, like it's like a family member that's running their marketing or something, and they're giving them preferential pricing. Are they going to still give you that same deal if you're not a family member and you own the business? Maybe not. Maybe things change. These are all things you got to think about with these types of businesses. What do you think about the margin overall, Ryan?
I think the margin is pretty. It probably could be better. I guess it's relative. I like to see 30% margin on a business normally, especially a service one. But in something like this, where we don't know how much they're importing or exporting, if they're doing a lot of marble from other parts of the world, okay, yeah, you're gonna have to bake that into your sales costs and price more, and you're probably gonna take home less. They probably could do a little bit with their pricing. I don't think it's bad. It's a little over 20%. It's a little under 20% of what they're putting in. So maybe there's just some things on the side that they're hemorrhaging money into. Maybe they're just paying for Google ads that are doing nothing. Maybe they're, there's probably a lot of meat on this bone that's just going into places that it shouldn't be. So
I found some of it.
Rent.
That rent is crazy.
Well, it depends on how big their warehouse is.
Yeah, but maybe they're in too big of a warehouse to be producing this flow of sales.
Yeah, you're talking about almost $100,000 a year on that one. So you're talking about a base of 80, 88, 96, and then 250 for
99 grand a year. So their rent is Their rent is 8% of their revenue. That's a lot.
If you could find something for half that, you've now taken your SDE and you've bumped it up to almost 300. Or you take that and you just push that back into your marketing. You didn't have to take anything away from anything else. So, but then again, also you're moving, which is a huge cost with granite.
Sure.
There's a lot to and reason for selling. Seller will discuss. That's weird.
Very vague.
It's very vague, but I do wonder if I don't think seller will discuss is a bad thing in most cases. It seems to me less of a we're retiring. It doesn't seem like they're saying I'm going to go do something else. That seller will discuss kind of sounds like something's happened and it's a fairly serious thing, and they're going to try to use not try to use it, but they're going to explain their life situation and why they exactly need this much money, which is fine. Because I see they have a down payment option, which is like, oh, we need a base of this, which to me says seller financing is on the table.
You say that because of this?
I say down payment, yeah, because most of these businesses, the down payment, they want the full amount, and it's just like a headache to figure that out. $50K means that they're willing to let you do other creative stuff to get this thing done, which means they probably really want their $499. So when they say seller wants to talk, that probably means they need the $500. And they have a reason they need it. For whatever reason, they don't want to share it. And that to me is an open season of, all right, how do we get there? How much are you willing to hold? Because you can make more on this sale if you hold with interest. If you're the seller and you say, I'll hold the I mean, let's just say they're like, look, 50K down, you pay me X amount per month over X amount of years at 8%, 10% interest. I'm good. Basically, they've just made themselves a free salary every month. Yeah, we're good. I'll do that deal all day. That also means they're not cutting and running, because anybody who's like, I want my full up front, that kind of makes me nervous, because something that we've touched on before is that these business owners that do that, not all of them, but some of them are just looking to get a problem off their hands.
It's true.
I think they also said there was a gracious transition period in this business too. I think they said, like, is this the one? I think maybe.
Let's see. I haven't seen something about that yet. So one thing I wanted to call out though, because that, like, whenever we see the down payment as exactly 10% of the asking price, what that says to me is that they're probably expecting SBA.
Mhm.
They're thinking someone could buy this with SBA. The SBA is cooked, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. It's over. Unless you're like an Arabian oil prince coming over with like $30 million. I'm being dramatic, but unless you're like very wealthy and have like very valuable assets to put up as collateral, and also have like an incredible W-2 income that's not going to go away separate from this, like the SBA is basically looking for any possible excuse not to make a deal happen in today's landscape. And we can argue about whether that's fair or not, but the point is, like, you're not going to get a deal done with the SBA as a regular person. It's just not going to happen.
Which I think isn't, it's good and bad. But I think the silver lining is that there's now larger entities that are trying to subsidize. They're substituting SBA with their own programs that are as good, if not, I think in some cases better than SBA stuff, and more favorable for both parties, both protecting the seller and helping the buyer. And also, I've always been a big fan of, like, if you're selling a business, why would you ever let the bank take your money? If you can say, hey, I'll be the bank. You pay me X amount up front and then pay me this every month with 8%, 10% interest, you're making that interest back. If you go to the bank, you get your money, you pay your tax on it, you're done. It's a smaller increment. I think this is not tax advice, talk to a CPA. But I think if you're doing it over time, your tax bill is going to be less. It's not going to be a massive sale. And basically, you're just kind of taking pieces back. And you can write up a contract with that too. I mean, if you were in a situation where you're like, hey, you need to pay me up by this amount at this much interest, and if you don't, I get my business back, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. And I mean, one thing that I want to like make clear there is like Ryan and I often talk about how what's listed here it's not the only option. Like,
no.
Whatever's listed here, this is a starting point to a negotiation. At the end of the day, like anything in business, like it's up for negotiation. So there's, many, many different structures that could be had here. This down payment, maybe they're relying on getting the full amount from SBA, but it's not going to happen in today's landscape. So you might be able to work out something where you're getting them that down payment, or maybe even a little bit more, and you're getting them their full price over time with interest and helping satisfy whatever need. The thing I would say that you always have to look out for in a negotiation, though, is what does the other party need? Because you're not going to make a deal happen by just trying to bully your way into it. You have to actually make it a good deal for both sides, or something that works for both sides at least. So you gotta just look for, why, like, this reason for selling. Seller will discuss. If I'm trying to buy this business and I'm trying to do it in a legitimate, profitable way that doesn't put me in a bad situation, I'm really, really digging in on this with them. I'm trying to get in and be like, why are you selling? What do you need here? What are you trying to accomplish? And how can we get a deal done that actually works for both sides and both parties? We learned this in our negotiation class. Like, there's always, like, the best negotiations come from really bringing everything that's needed on both sides to the surface.
Oh yeah. They're human. They have needs, they have wants. And if, and we like to say it's price and terms. If somebody wants that price, you can say, well, can you do it and help me out with the terms of how to get to that price? Because if they just want the price and they have the ability to, be flexible on it, you can really get a a decent deal out of a price that you didn't really get negotiated, but you can make the payments much more favorable for yourself. They get the price, you get your payments, everybody goes home happy.
That's right. What grade would you give this business, Ryan?
I think this is solid B to B plus. I think if one of those sales people, if one of the people in the employees becomes a sales employee or is a sales employee, I think it jumps up to an A minus. I think it doesn't get the A grade because of the rent and the unknown employees, but I think seller will discuss and the price and the down payment. I think those are all very positive signs that they're willing to work, and that there's a lot of discussion that can happen around how this deal will get done.
Absolutely. I'm going to give it the same grade. I'll give it a B. I like the flexibility that they're showing. My concern is that there seems to be a reliance on the SBA providing that flexibility. SBA is not going to work out here. The sales or the margin rather is lower than I'm used to seeing in this industry. So I'd be a little concerned there. They might be, it might be because of the rent. Honestly, the rent would explain it almost alone. All that being said, the reason I'm giving it a good grade is you're getting a lot of inventory and a lot of FF&E built in. The price, even if you weren't considering the inventory and FF&E, the price is actually pretty decent for what you're buying here. Very, very low, very lowly over a 2x multiple, which at this level it's a fair price. I like that it's been around for a while. They've got probably some solid roots in the community. Some of those contacts could really be helpful. I would need to know more about the employee situation and what is the owner doing. That stuff makes me nervous. Could be very reliant on the owner. The rent, very, very, very high. And knowing a business like this, you're going to be very hard pressed to relocate a business like this, unless you want to just toss the FF&E and the inventory out the window. You're going to be very hard pressed to move something like this. So you're probably going to have to just step into that rent situation. It's probably locked in for a while. You could have rent increases too. But altogether, like the most important things are like the cash flow you're capturing and the price. And I think it's pretty well positioned there. I like this one.
I think it's and even if it was a bolt-on, I feel like if you were buying something like this, you were to expand a footprint. If it made sense, like if you had your own sales and stuff team, you're getting the inventory seemingly reasonably there, and you'd be stepping into a decent earnings things. I mean, yeah, the rent's a little high, but after the 2 years or whatever it is, you could always negotiate a longer contract, maybe if you like the place for a lesser amount. So there's ways around it.
Absolutely. Well, all in all, I think this is a great business, and that, this is an industry that excites me a lot. Being able to work hands on with a business like this is a fantastic industry to be in.
This is a hidden industry. I don't think people really even think about this industry.
Well, it's owned by Brazilians and Russians and a few other nationalities.
It's good if they're the only ones who are doing it.
And they're keeping that shit locked tight. It's a very, very good industry. So just getting into something like this where, you've got homes trading hands often, and that could be shaken up a little bit, but there's always remodelings going on, always new builds
always
going
a flipper, on. Always people trying to clean up, trying to make their properties worth more. I mean, countertops are in kitchens and bathrooms, and even some people want nice coffee bars as well. So you got a lot of options. And cabinetry, every kitchen has cabinets.
Yep, and I like that they have those two verticals too, the countertop and cabinet. I mean, those are
important.
If someone needs cabinets, they might also need countertops. If someone's doing countertops, they might also need cabinets. In many cases, like remodel or a new build, like they're going to need both. So being able to service both is great. I like this one a lot. If you found any value in this as someone thinking about buying a business or selling a business, make sure you tune in every single week on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear Ryan and I do more episodes like this. And if you want to see a deal that has interested you covered on the show, just send it to us. You can find Ryan and I both on LinkedIn. That's a good place to message us. Ryan Santo MBA on LinkedIn, Brody Vinson MBA on LinkedIn. Should be able to find us pretty easily, and just shoot us a message, connect with us, and let us know what you want to see covered on the show. Maybe it's just a listing you saw, or maybe it's a deal that you saw that you just want us to, something that's off market and you just want us to cover the details of it so that you can more accurately form your opinion. Something we'd be happy to do. And if you're someone who's thinking about selling your business and you're kind of tuning in to figure out like how people think through these things, scaleforsale.com is my company. We do work like this. We help people that are selling their business to, either grow it a little bit to prepare it for sale or find a better situation to sell it. We've got a lot of different programs that we can help you get into to help you find the right situation. So just get in touch with us and let us know what you're looking to do, and we'd be happy to help. But until the next time, we will see you, and we're excited to do more deal making talk with you. See you on the next one.
See ya.